A very warm welcome to the World of Lord Russell podcast talk show. And today's show is Regrets of a Football Maverick, which captures the life of a former English professional football player, whose career lasted from 1975 to 1988. He was an attacking midfielder who could also play as a winger and as an out-and-out striker too. During his 13-year career, he played for 16 clubs, both in England and Europe. Although he is best known by Sheffield Wednesday supporters for his part in launching the football club's revival during the late 1970s and early 1980s. You could say he was an original football journeyman and certainly a fine football player, a first-class maverick, a gentleman, and now running a fantastic football podcast called The Curran View. Yes, folks, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome onto the show Terry Curran. Welcome to the show, Terry.
Thank you, Russell, and pleasure to be on.
Absolutely fantastic to have you on. It really is. Let's start from the beginning, Terry. You were born in Kingsley, I understand, near Hemsworth, West Riding of Yorkshire. And your professional footballing career started when you signed for the then 4th Division Doncaster Rovers in July 1973. From non-league football, it has to be said. You made 68 appearances for Doncaster Rovers, scored 11 goals in 2 seasons. So how was your time at Doncaster Rovers and any significant moments that you'd like to share with us, Terry?
Yeah, it's funny because I come from a famous rugby family. My mum's a Batten.
Wow.
So Billy Batten, I mean, he held the record, transfer record for £1,000 in 1930s. But I couldn't get really into rugby. All my cousins, and I mean, my 2 lads loved rugby.
Yes.
But I couldn't get into it. But as a kid, I was football mad, and I mean absolutely mad. I went everywhere with a football, whether I took it to school, when I came home, straight back out, back in for tea, back on the field, back onto the fields, playing with all the boys. And some would go in for their tea early, and I'd be one of those that go home last, And then my mum would be going by me, your tea were ready here at 6 o'clock. Where have you been? I've been playing football, so I got a clip round here for not being home on time. And then the comprehensive schools came in, and they were all rugby because they were grammar schools. They were rugby, and the teachers knew of me of being well, my mum's side is a Batten, so they wanted me to play rugby, and I wouldn't play rugby, so I missed out playing sports for 2 to 3 years, something like that.
Wow.
Because I wanted to play football, but obviously it wouldn't happen today. They wouldn't let me play football. They suspended me from sports because I wouldn't play rugby. And then my brother started under-18s team up. We went over to Halifax, beat the under-18s 3-0. I scored 2. And I went to, we played Doncaster, I think the following week. We beat them. I scored another couple of goals. And I was never a midfield player. I was always a striker. I only finished up on wing because of my pace. And at Doncaster, we had people like Peter Kitchen, Brendan O'Callaghan, Mickey Elvis.
Great players.
And they're trying to fit 5 players or 4 players into 3 positions or 4 positions. It all depends how we was going to play a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3. But I was going to sign for Halifax. I set off to sign for Halifax. The manager then was George Mulhall. I remember being in the car with my brother Tevins and a guy called Sammy Mid. I said, "Stop the car, I'm going back. I'm going to go to Doncaster." And I hadn't been offered a contract at Doncaster, but I was asked to play in a reserve game in 1973 against Sunderland. And I played against a guy called Mick Guthrie, who played in the cup final in 73 against Leeds United.
He did indeed.
And I remember when we got to Sunderland at Old Roker Park, there was thousands of fans because they were all giving tickets. But I think we either played the Tuesday or the Wednesday. I mean, it's a long time ago now, but I remember thousands of fans queuing up to get tickets. Anyway, after that game, I gave Mick Guthrie a right chasing. And Maurice Setters offered me a contract, and that's how I finished up signing for Doncaster Rovers for £20 a week.
Wow. I mean, playing as well at Roker Park there. I mean, I always remember Roker Park. I've been there, of course. And, you know, the Roker Roar they had, didn't they? Famously from one end of the
Yes,
ground. That was a massive, massive stand, wasn't it? They could really generate some atmosphere at Roker Park,
absolutely.
Sunderland.
I mean, these used to get about 4,000 or 5,000 fans to the reserve game back in those
Yes.
days. Maybe a bit more. But even before then, I remember playing in the school district team.
Mm.
And Blackburn Rovers and Aston Villa wanted to sign me. Both take me away, you know, to go to school in Blackburn and Villa Park and to Aston Villa.
Yes.
And my dad said I was too young at the time, so really I missed out on getting into football at a young age, really. So it's funny how it all came about in a sense, because it was only getting under 8 teams together in Kinsley,
Yes.
playing those 2 games, and within 2 weeks, I'd been offered a professional contract by 2 football clubs and by 2 managers. George Mulhall, who was a great player in his time, and a guy called Maurice Setters, who was a great player in his time, who played obviously with Manchester United, Coventry, those type of clubs. So I think George played at Roker Park and all for Sunderland. So it was funny how it all came about.
And it did. And you signed for Doncaster Rovers. Your start as a professional footballer happened. And then, interestingly, Brian Clough was wanting to sign you for Nottingham Forest, but he was put off by the asking price of 140,000. So Brian Clough, controversially, told your brother of his interests. So you would not sign a new contract at Doncaster Rovers, thus reducing the transfer fee. You signed for Nottingham Forest in August 1975, with Doncaster Rovers receiving 50,000, plus I think keeper Dennis Peacock and winger Ian Miller. I mean, this is some story, Terry, isn't it? And typical of Brian Clough's way of doing business, really. So tell us more about this intriguing story and Brian Clough's antics.
I had 10 games for Doncaster when I first got a phone call. Would I want to play for Nottingham Forest? I'd only played about 10 games.
Yes.
The Forest scouts had seen me play. And I got a phone call. Would I fancy playing for Nottingham Forest? And I said, yeah, of course. But I mean, Brian Clough then was the big guy in football, along with Don Revie and Bill Shankly.
He was indeed.
But Clough was so controversial on TV at the time. So you can imagine, as a young kid, someone of his stature wanted to sign me, you know, after only played about 10 games. Yes, Doncaster Rovers did want £150,000 for me, but the fee finished up being £75,000 plus 2 players, yes. Dennis Peacock and Ian Miller. Not Ian Miller, Ian Miller, a winger.
Yes.
So that was the original fee. And what did I'd only been there, 13, 14 months at £20 a week. And Doncaster spent £75,000 on me.
Yes.
2 players, and made a profit on Dennis Peacock and Ian Miller, because I think they sold Ian to Blackburn, and I think they sold Dennis to Bolton Wanderers.
That's a good business by the club, really. Has to be said, doesn't it?
So everything just came about so quickly. I got straight into first team. I mean, big Brendan O'Callaghan got him before me, but he was about 6'4" centre forward. I mean, I was a sub up at Liverpool, so only 18. Big Bren were 18. I think there's not much between us in his date of birth. And but Big Bren played up there, and I was a sub up there, and we were so close to knocking Liverpool out. Peter Kitchen were absolutely brilliant. In fact, he was man of the match that day. I mean, Keegan, they got them all there. Keegan, Toshak, Clemens, Alec Lindsay, Tommy Smith, you know, Emily News, all those players.
Yeah, great players.
We're all
great
playing.
side.
Ian Callaghan, you know. We got back to Bellevue and I played in that game and never looked back after that game. I played in the V play. We got beat 3-0. And everything took off. And it weren't that, like you said, I played 68 games for Doncaster.
Mm.
And within a season and a bit, I was being transferred to Nottingham Forest. And, I mean, I had three other offers besides that, which were Tottenham, Everton, and Sheffield United. Ken Furphy was manager of Sheffield United.
Mm.
Birkinshaw manager of Tottenham. And Billy Bingham at Everton.
Big clubs too.
Morris had got the sack. Stan Anderson had taken over. And Stan had said to me, I was going down with the chairman and Stan to meet Clough to sign for him on the Wednesday. But we were backtracking because our reserves were playing at Mansfield.
Mm.
And we were going to beat those three managers at Field Mill and speak to them. Stan said, look, we'll get you best deal. Don't rush this. Don't sign straight away for Nottingham Forest. He knew, but he couldn't prove it, that Clough had been tapping me up through Alan Hill.
Wonderful.
And so I was always going to sign for Forest. You know, I mean, they were in the second division then, whereas the other three were in the old first division.
Yes, they were.
You know, when you look at it, you've always got to go play at the highest level. But that's never really bothered me football. You know, because I loved it that much as a kid. It didn't make any difference whether I played for Halifax or Manchester United. Now, people will look at that strange, and I get that. I really get it. It's stupid and silly to think that way, right? But I just love playing football. I mean, the thing about football, people used to say to you when you were a kid, just go out and enjoy it. But you know, when you turn professional, it ain't like that one little bit. Because if you're not playing to orders and to rules,
oh, absolutely,
then you're out.
Absolutely right. Yes. And that's the thing, isn't it? And in the 2 seasons at Nottingham Forest, Terry, you played, I think, 48 games, scoring 12 goals for Forest. And of course, helping them gain promotion to Division 1 in the 76-77 season. And that's a season I remember well. And I do remember watching Nottingham Forest at Chelsea in that season. And of course, with Nottingham Forest gaining promotion with Wolves and Chelsea that year. I mean, what are your memories of this promotion winning year? I mean, you were in the first division after all.
You see, people say about, I mean, the book, The Regrets of a Football Maverick. I've never had any regrets at all whatsoever. Only the 2 major injuries, one at Forest and one at Everton.
Yes.
I joined Forest and I'm thrown straight into the team.
Yeah.
I remember when I signed for him, I met him on the Wednesday. And like I said, we were going to backtrack to Field Mill at Mansfield and speak to the 3 managers. But I remember Mr. Appleby, the chairman. I mean, it was a committee there. There weren't no owners of the football. It was a committee. So I met Clough. He got his squash racket there and he's tapping against the side of his leg. And he said to me, young man, what are you looking for? And I said, I'm looking for £90 a week, boss. I'm earning 20 quid.
Yes.
This is how much I learned from Clough. He said to me, never underestimate yourself, young man. I'll give you 120. How's about that? You know.
You take him off well too, Terry.
From that day on, that always stuck in my head.
Yes.
So he said, now sign the contract and I'll give you the kiss. I said, well, hang on a bit. I said, because if you ask for the transfer, you lost your fee, signing on fee.
Yes.
So I said to him, with me signing on fee, he said, don't worry about that, young man. I'm going to give you that. That's £3,500. I'll give you that. £120 a week. Now sign the contract. I said, well, hang on a bit. That's £3,500 from me own, but I want negotiating another £3,500 for signing for you. He said, you're making it hard for me, young man. I said, well, you save yourself £75,000 by me asking for a transfer. And they knew then, my mind weren't, my mind weren't right to play for Doncaster because, I'd already made up my mind I'm going to sign for Forest.
Yes.
He said, now you've got it, sign the fucking contract and let me give you the kiss. And I said to him, am I playing on the Saturday? He said, I haven't signed you to sit on the fucking bench, young man, have I? They played Rotherham. They beat Rotherham 5-1. So I'm in the boardroom after the game. Alan Hill comes in for me, takes me into the dressing room after the game. They beat Rotherham 5-1. It was a two-legged. I think they won about 7 something on average aggregate. And it took me to the dressing room. Cloughy got hold of me and took me straight over to Martin O'Neill, and he said to Martin, "Young man, this is Edward. He's taking your place on Saturday." And Martin had played really well on that night. I mean, it sounds funny, but it became a problem for the first 3 or 4 months, because there were Martin, Robbo, Woody, Jim McCann, Bert Bowery, Viv, Glyn Saunders. These were all big mates.
Yes.
And I was coming to take one of their mates. So it was very difficult when I first joined Forest, in a sense that, I mean, they were great with me afterwards, but it took a good 4 or 5 months. On top of that, I finished up with a bad ankle injury. So I was out of team for a little bit. Then I got back in. After I recovered from the injury, I got back in, started to play well. And it wasn't until we played Corby. I think we'd given some floodlights, and we had a testimonial for Corby to raise them some money. And I remember being in the communal bath after that game, and Robbo turned around. He said, TC, he says, you can play football, can't you? And I said, it's taken you a long time for you all to realise that. But I understand what had happened, I mean, Clough, he would call Robbo the little fat man.
He would indeed, yes.
He got names for them all, and Martin used him and Clough. I mean, Martin never argued with Clough, but Martin's an intellect. But Martin knew how to control himself. He would ask Clough certain questions, like the time, you've all heard that story when he turned around and he said, why do you keep playing me on wing when I don't like playing on wing? He said, well, you have 2 positions you can play. You can play either on wing, young man, or you can play number 12 and be on bench. So, but that was Clough for you. Then I really started to play well for Forest. I really, really were ripping teams apart. Me and Robbo was ripping teams apart. I mean, I scored a right few goals in that first 6 or 7 games to beat Sheffield United 6, Hereford 4. I scored in that game, in the Sheffield United game. Burnley, when I did, before the Burnley game, we beat Hereford, Carlisle. What else we beat teams 4, 5, 6. And then we played Burnley, and I smashed my ligaments after 18 minutes. We were 2-0 against Burnley. I made the first goal, scored the second. And then John McGovern tripped Paul Fletcher. Fletch falls on my knee as I'm going one way. My leg's gone the other. It snaps my ligaments.
Oh, wow.
So I'm out then for about 6 or 7 months. And then the team hit a bad patch. And I was just about being given the go-ahead to go and train with the first team. Clough had called for me to go into his office and see me. He said, I've been told that, young man, that you can come back and train with us. You come in tomorrow, this was on the Saturday after the game. He said, I want you to come in on the Sunday. I goes in on the Sunday. He said, I'll tell you if you're fit or not. Now run 20 laps around the pitch. And I looked at him going out. I thought, this was first time of serious training.
Yes.
So I finished doing 20 laps around the pitch. After those 20 laps, he said, you can train with us on Monday. Now, they hadn't won for a month. And I came, my first game back was against Hereford. We beat Hereford 1-0. I scored the winner. We got a draw up at Carlisle, but the 2 away games. And then on the Saturday, the following Tuesday, or something like Wednesday or whatever it was, or maybe the Saturday, we were playing Southampton. And the team sheet used to go up in the dressing room, and my name wasn't on it. And I'm thinking, I wonder why he's left me out. So I goes in to see him. When I goes in to see him, I knocks on his door, goes in. He said, "Come in, young man." I goes in. His feet's up on the desk. He's got his green tracksuit top on, his blue tracksuit bottom, and his squash racket, tapping it. "What can I do for you, young man?" So why not playing, boss? He said, "Listen to me, young man. I had to finish with the same injury as you, and I never got back to playing football right. And I don't want you to go through the same thing as I went through." Young lad wanted to play. I hadn't played for 5 or 6 months, whatever it was. Scored the winner at Hereford. Thought I was ready for it. And he said to me, "I'll tell you when you're going to play again." So I said to him, "Shove your team up your backside." And I walked out of the door. And as I walked out the door, I banged the door. It must have been loose. It must have been loose, because as I've let go of the door, the door's fallen down. And I look back, Clough is there laughing. I can still see him now,
Laughing.
Laughing his head off. And he said, "I'll see you next week, young man." And that was the start of the downfall with me and Clough, really, because you can have Robbo, and Robbo's alive today. Martin O'Neill's alive today. And Larry Lloyd was just about signed then. But all those young lads, Ian Boyer, John O'Hare, John McGovern. I was the one that Clough was pushing the most to play for England. I was scoring goals. I was ripping team apart. But yes, Robbo was playing well, and he went on to become a superstar, and rightly so, because he was a great player.
He was a good
player. I was the one that looked like being the bee's knees. In fact, he was going to play me through the middle, Clough. He was going to play me through the middle because of my pace. He thought because in training, when I would do that in training, playing through the middle, I'd just go past people so easy. As you on wing, even when you look at it today, because they can get 2 banks of 4 in there, can't they? Today they block it off. Whereas in my day, they would double up on you. They go man for man, and you'll stop the ball coming out to you. Not getting a kick of the ball. But Clough had seen, and I said to him, when I was a kid, I'd scored 10, 12 goals in games. So he was going to play me. He was going to play me through the middle, and then I got the bad injury. And then the team were winning and winning. I got frustrated. I was tapped up by Derby, Tommy Docherty. And obviously, I'm one of those players that want to play first team football. I don't want to sit on the bench. Was it a mistake? Of course, it's a mistake as you get older. None of y'all will never know what it was like for me at Forest.
Yes,
because we would play games. We played at West Brom, and I remember him. I remember Clough coming at half time at West Brom. And he went over to, Martin and Robbo would sit side of each other. They were really big mates, them two. And he said to them two, he said, "When you get your wages this week, give it to him because he's got you a point today." That's how embarrassing at times it was for me. And it was embarrassing because it was a bit frustrating for me. And it made those players a bit jealous at the time. And they will never deny it. They knew what was happening with Clough and me. But the injury, I got blistering pace. I still got good pace after the injury. But before that injury, I got blistering pace. And I mean blistering pace. I would imagine, I was going to run against him, was Steve Kinden. I think he won 6 on trot. There used to be a competition up in Edinburgh.
Yes.
100 metres, and he won 6 on trot. It would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see how we would have gone against each other, me and Steve Kinden.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Because that's how quick I was.
Absolutely. I always remember you being a quick player, Terry. Absolutely fantastic player, quick player. And you've intimated already, you did, however, lose favour at Nottingham Forest after a disagreement with Forest assistant manager Peter Taylor. And you made a written transfer request, I think in August 1977, which was accepted. You were loaned out to Bury, I believe, in October 1977, and eventually switched to Derby County and a £50,000 move the following month. So what happened with Peter Taylor, Terry? I always thought Peter Taylor was a relatively quiet, unassuming man.
When I look at Pete, it weren't Pete's fault, really, because Pete, I remember Pete writing about me saying that I would play for England.
Yes.
What had happened? We sold John Middleton to Derby County. Cloughy bought Peter Taylor, Peter Shilton.
Peter Shilton, yes.
Right. Cloughy always said to us, if you ever go into management, make sure you get a world-class goalkeeper, then you'll win trophies. And I mean, John Middleton was a good goalkeeper, but there was always a mistake in John. John was sold then to Derby County. And John were calling to my house after training sessions and saying, look, the doc wants to sign you, ask for a transfer. So I went in one day and I said to Clough, has anybody made a bid for me? Like typical Clough. He said to me, yes, Bury's made a bid for you. And he didn't think I would go. So I said, oh, that's okay. Then let me go. He said, you can go on loan. I said, all right, I'll go on loan. So I went up to Bury. I think I went up on the Thursday, trained up there, played in the game on Saturday. And then I went up the following week to train up there because I'm never one of those what travels. I was one of them what wanted to live in the area.
Yes. So
I guess a phone call. I'm in the hotel. Well, it wasn't an hotel. It was a bed and breakfast, a pub type of thing. Anyway, I get a phone call from Clough and he said to me, young man, I didn't give you permission to go and train there. I gave you permission to go and play there. You train here and then you go up there on a Thursday and then you can play with them. So then I goes in to see, what is Robert? His name was at Bury. What's his first name? He'll come to me. Anyway, I goes in to see him. And managers' offices, they had these telephones where they had about 8 different numbers and they put you through to secretary, they put you through to so-and-so. So I goes in to see him and I said to him, look, I can't train here. The manager's just phoned me up and he's told me, after today, I've got to go and train back at Nottingham and then come up here on a Thursday. So he turned around and said, oh, did it now? So he gets on the phone, gets the secretary, he said, can you get me Brian Clough on phone? So she gets Brian Clough on phone. He's speaking, so now I can hear everything what's being said because he's put it on loudspeaker. So he said, I've got Terry come in and he said that you said he can't train up here. He said, I've never spoke to the young man. And I thought, well, you complete unbelievable. But then when I got back to the hotel, he gave me a right bollocking. He said, that was between me and you. So listen, he never wanted to sell me. It was me determined, wanting to play football.
Absolutely.
Do I regret that? Looking back at it now, because you've always got to play highest level. If you get to play at highest level, you're going to get that standing of getting that. One thing they can never take away from me. All these great players I played against: Norman Hunter, George Best, Jimmy Greaves, Emily News, Alan Clark, who's still alive, Frankie Gray, Eddie Gray. All these type of players came to me and all said to me, Duncan McKenzie, what a player you are. So yes, I should have played at the highest level all my career. But I was never bothered about. Really bothered about.
I was going to say, actually, Terry, did you regret?
I was as much excited. I was as much excited playing for Doncaster Rovers as I did for Everton or Forest or Sheffield Wednesday. And I love Sheffield Wednesday. That's my team I want to play for.
Yes, of course.
I mean, that did make hair stand up back of my neck.
We'll come on to that later.
But I remember playing for Doncaster in the under-18s game one day. I came off at half time because I wanted to go back and play for my local team, Kingsley Boys. I came off faking an injury, because my local team were playing at Tollbar at Doncaster, and I wanted to play in this semi-final at Cup. And my dad went absolutely ballistic with me, So you can't do things like that. So I love football, but it was football I loved.
Yes, of course.
Where you have to play at the ice level, and you should always play at the ice level.
And
so when I look back at that, it was silly in one aspect.
So there is regrets, Terry, obviously, because Nottingham Forest did go on, of course, to win the First Division title in 1978 under Brian Clough and Peter Taylor.
2 European Cups.
Yeah, and then, of course, back-to-back European Cups in 79 and 1980, respectively. Now, of course, the Champions League. I mean, I believe Nottingham Forest side at the time were nicknamed the Miracle Men. So you left a fantastic team. And that must be a regret, I should imagine.
You'd have to... It's strange because people will say he's got, but yes. I didn't. I have never wanted one of my ex-clubs to be unsuccessful. I wanted Forest to go and win. Whereas a lot of players who I played with, they would want the teams to get beat once they'd left them. I just wanted to play football.
Yes, of course.
But the team won the championship first season back in the old First Division.
Absolutely, it's incredible.
And it's not. I mean, like nowadays, they're chopping and changing all the time, aren't they?
They are.
Whereas then, they didn't do that. You would have a set of 12, 13, 14 players, and the team stuck to that. I think the injury. I still think Clough. Well, I know because let me tell you. Clough tried to sign me 3-4 times after I left Forest. Once when I was at Sheffield Wednesday, twice when I was at Everton, and once when I was at Sheffield United. And that's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, I told him when I was at Everton, I was on loan from Everton to Sheffield United, and he said to me, we beat them 3-1 up at Goodison. He said, young man, come back and play for me. We can make the team great again. And I said to him, boss, this team will win the First Division. This is a good team. I know we were near bottom. I think we were second, third bottom when I joined them on my loan period. But you could see the potential in there. They were just had lost confidence, and they went on to win everything. Then I get another bad injury up there. And I was out for 5 or 6 months, rushed me back to play in the FA Cup, played in the FA Cup, get another injury. They win the FA Cup against Watford. And then I miss out again. I did a stupid thing when they were playing Bayern Munich at Bayern. And I think he was going to go in a more defensive-minded way to play there. And I said to Howard, am I playing this? I hadn't made up my mind. Well, I make up my mind. And I went home, which, when I look at that now, that was so stupid and immature. But everything what goes off, what's around you, you're frustrated and everything, being out injured and teams doing well. Because all the players will tell you, when you've injured, there's nothing more frustrating than being injured. When you know you're going to be in the team. I was never out of team until I got injured. Ever out of team till I got injured. So I do regret giving those injuries, but I had a fantastic career. I had some fantastic football players turn around. I remember George Best coming to me after the game against Fulham, and I scored the best goal I ever scored in my life for Forest at Fulham. I beat about 3 or 4 men. Saw the goalkeeper chip the ball. I remember turning round to the far side of the, as you know, where the players come out at Fulham. The director's box used to be at the far side, and the dugouts were at this side. I remember turning around and putting my hands up to George Best, and he's clapping. I turned around then to Cloughy. You couldn't ask for 2 bigger people in football.
No, indeed.
And Clough's off his feet, And the amount of praise he used to give me, right? I mean, I've got paper clippings where Clough said I was the best young signing he'd ever made, and that included Colin Todd and Roy McFarlane. Now, you can't get any better 2 players than those 2. So little things just didn't go my way at the right time, Russell.
Yeah, and it goes. Life is like that sometimes, isn't it, Terry? You know, I mean, this is a great story, I think, as well, which I'm going to ask you about. I mean, you had a short spell at Derby County,
We'll
and of
go back
course,
to the transfer in a bit
yeah,
because
we
you asked
will
me about
do. I
the
did,
transfer
yeah.
letter.
We've gone off a little bit there, but you stayed at Derby County, I think, for under a year, making 26 appearances in Division One and scoring 2 goals before switching for £60,000
You know where they were
to
when I joined them?
where were they?
They were about fourth bottom at league,
Well, yeah,
and
and
we
great.
finished up about eighth. He's the only one where I never got tapped up to go to Southampton.
Yeah,
But the Doc, I quite like Doc. A lot of them didn't like Doc. I liked the way how he wanted to play. But Doc would always wanted to make money.
yeah,
He would buy and sell players, Doc. And his
absolutely.
mind were never right there when he went, when he got sacked from Man United. I think
Mm,
if we'd have had a Clough or a good top manager then, because that team was still good enough to win titles, that Derby County team. Roy McFarlane,
yeah, good
Colin Todd,
players.
David Nish, David Langan, Bruce Rioch, Don Masson, Jerry Daly,
Yeah, big
me,
names.
Charlie George, uh, Jerry Ryan. Then we signed Gordon Hill. So it was a fantastic football team, Russell.
Yeah, I can. I'm like those names are inspirational, aren't they? Absolutely top players.
I've played with
Great
some
side.
absolutely great players, mate. Absolutely great
Oh,
players.
without doubt, Terry. But you know, you did stay less than a year at Southampton after going to Southampton. I think making 26 appearances in the 78-79 season and playing in the League Cup final that year, victory over Leeds United. But it was after the semi-final in January 1979 that you were approached by Sheffield Wednesday manager Jack Charlton with the audacious request that you drop down 2 divisions and sign for third division Sheffield Wednesday. I tell you, you agreed to Jack Charlton's approach and did sign for Sheffield Wednesday, I think for £100,000 in March 1979. An intriguing move too, Terry. We sort of discussed how you should play at top level all the time. So what was your inspiration around your move to Sheffield Wednesday then? How did Big Jack convince you to sign?
Listen, I'm 11 years of age
Yes.
when I see our national team win the World Cup.
Oh, of course. Big Jack.
I'm 11 years of age. Jack Charlton, Bobby Charlton.
Heroes.
Bobby Charlton was manager of Preston. Bobby Charlton had tried to sign me for Preston when I was at Doncaster Rovers. He came to watch me at Stockport.
Mm.
So 3 World Cup winners tried to sign. 2 World Cup winners tried to sign me, and
Yes.
the World Cup winner I became big friends with at Southampton. And when I tell you this, Russell, I'm a 21-year-old or 23-year-old signed for Southampton, and Alan Ball is this big name player.
Yes.
And we became that friendly. I am on top. He was. I don't know what he did. Listen, I've never caused any trouble at a football club. I've had arguments with Jack, right? I've had arguments with Jack about the way how we played football. I looked at the way our Leeds United play, and if I'd have known, I said to Jack, I wouldn't have signed Jack. I didn't know we were going to play this long ball game. I didn't want to play that way. Anyway, because Bally, regardless of what many people likes or not, Bally used to pick that team. It was a big influence on Laurie McManamy. And all of a sudden, me and Bally used to go all over, horse racing, whatever. We went all over the place. We were like the Blues Brothers. It was unreal. And, sometimes I'm thinking to myself, it's all right for him. He's 30, he's been there, done it and seen it. Because young lads will always get into trouble. Anyway, McManamy didn't like that. He didn't like me being with Bally. So what had happened? Jack had got taken over at Sheffield Wednesday. Morris, who signed me at Doncaster Rovers, phoned me up. He knew I was a Sheffield Wednesday fan. He said, if you come and join us, TC, and get us out, you'll make yourself a superstar up here. Mm. And I said to him, well, I really don't want to drop down, but I really wanted to play at Sheffield Wednesday. I know it's a big club. I know it's, no disrespect to Southampton. It's a bigger club than Southampton, a bigger fan base club than Southampton. Anyway, I've made up my mind and I said, yeah, I'll do it. I thought if I can get Sheffield Wednesday, and by the way, we nearly went up 2 seasons. And if I tell Jack to buy 3 players, if he'd have bought those 3 players the second season, we would have gone up. We would have gone up. We only missed out, I think, on 2 points. Else would have automatically gone up in the 2 seasons back into the first division. That would have been a really proud moment for me, you know. But so what happened? We're playing up at Leeds. We get a phone call, and Morris said to me, "Will you meet us in Cinderella Rockefellers after the game?" So anyway, I said, "Yeah, not a problem." So Bowley says that we drew. By the way, this is the semi-final of the League Cup. We drew up there. Tony Curry was absolutely sublime that night. I mean, sublime. How they did not win 6 or 7, I do not know. I do not know. Thinking about it now today, I still don't know. And any Leeds fan and even any Southampton player, now Southampton fan will tell you that night we should have got absolutely destroyed. We're 2-0 down. I hit a ball in absolutely sublime cross. I think was it Nick Holmes who scored. Anyway, whoever scored, and then Steve Williams hits another great ball in. We get back 2 apiece, and we beat them in the second leg at the Dell. I scored the winner. Anyway, we go into Cinderella Rockefeller. So first thing Jack says to me, you know, because we're looking around about the transfer window, and I said to Jack, well, if we get to final, I'm staying until after the final.
Yes.
Because I want to play at Wembley. Every kid wants to play at Wembley. So Bawley then goes ballistic, and he says to Bawley says, I mean, Jack were big mates and all. So Jack says, are you going to come and sign for us? And I said, yes, I promise you, I'll definitely sign. Are you sure? Because some managers will say to players, and players will say to sign, and then they let them down, don't they? You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got a chance of playing for England. You've got a chance of playing for England. You should be going to play third division football. So Paul is going absolutely going ballistic with me in his squeaky little voice. You know, don't be dropping down a couple of leagues. He's stupid. So I finished up. I said, Alan, I'm going to play for him. Right. And that's how it came about. But right? I would just started to play. I would just started to get back the confidence.
Yes.
I had.
But before you signed for Sheffield Forest,
I remember ripping Everton. We beat Everton 3. I ripped them apart myself. We beat Wolves 3. I was absolutely buzzing. In fact, he offered me a 3-year contract. But McManamy didn't like me being with Bawley. And that's what I got annoyed with. You know, treating me like, you know, dirt at times. But back in those days, there was a lot of bullying going on back in those days. But that's how it was. And, you know, it weren't. I mean, we can look at it now as bullying, but that's how everybody spoke. So I don't want to get people into trouble.
Different time, isn't it?
You know, but that's how times were.
It's a different time.
So what it was it silly? Yes, in one sense, because why drop down two divisions? Well, you're never going to play for England playing in the third division.
No, you're not. But you did have your other dream through it, though. Before you signed for Sheffield Wednesday and Big Jack, you did play in the 1979 League Cup final and a defeat against your former club, of course, Nottingham Forest. So that must have been some mixed feelings there as well, playing against Forest, losing in the final. But at the same time, a great moment in your football career too, Terry.
It was, because obviously, listen, if Cloughy was alive today, and he came through here now, I guarantee you, come here, give me a kiss, young man.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and all of them, every one of them, were great with me. Every one of them. People think that I fell out with Mike. No, I didn't. Other things what cost me to leave football clubs. Other things. And when I say other things, it weren't no nasty from managers or anything like that. If I used to gamble, and if I lost my money, then that's the only way I gave some money back through a transfer. And I was being tapped up a lot. Yes. So really, I've never wrote about it. I've never said anything about it. But that's what cost me a lot of problems in football. You know, asking for moves for no reason whatsoever. You know, so people don't realise what happened in my career. And I don't blame anybody else. I blame myself for my downfall and the two bad injuries. The two injuries did not help one little bit.
No,
I
that's
mean,
very honest.
what I would have liked to have known is what would have happened if I would have got injured at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's something that I'll never know.
Yeah,
I will never
exactly.
know.
But however, you were in Jack Charlton's side, which went on to gain promotion from Division 3 in 79-80 season. And during your time at Hillsborough, you scored 24 goals in that promotion season. I mean, that's some season, isn't it, Terry? 24 goals is a big bag of success, isn't it?
I told you, as a kid, I scored tons of goals. I would score 8,
Exactly.
10, 12 goals in games when I was 15, 16, 17, 10. I scored stacks of goals.
Yeah.
In training, I scored. The thing is with Jack, he wanted a big centre forward, and I weren't a great header of a ball, right? And when you played as a striker in those teams, you've got big 6'3", 6'4". You've no chance because they're getting a run on you as you have to stand still and jump, aren't you?
Exactly.
Unless you're a big 6'4" centre forward, the only chance you've got is backing into them and giving them a little bit back.
Exactly.
But in training, I would play as a free player. And I would score 2 goals, 3 goals in training. Someone got injured. Was it Fleming? It might have been Fleming, Ian Fleming. Yeah. Not the Bond writer, right? We signed a kid from Scotland, I'm sure Ian Fleming, his name was. He got injured. I played up front and I scored. By the way, no penalties in that. They were all goals.
They're all goals, no penalties. Goals. Yeah,
absolutely. No penalties. Mark Smith, I mean, I must have made about 10 penalties that season. I think Mark Smith scored 10 or 12 penalties that season. As I got, what did I get? 23? 26 altogether, I think. But yes. 23 in the league or 24 in the league, something like that.
Yes.
So I was always a goal scorer. But when I played out on wing, my dad used to say to me, "Why didn't you shoot?" I would walk around the goalkeeper and lay the ball to Andy McCulloch and let him have a tap in. I could have scored a lot more goals, me. I could have scored a lot more goals. But I liked it as much. I like making them as much as I like scoring them. Don't get me wrong. I love scoring goals. It's a great feeling. But I got as much pleasure out of making them as I did.
Yes.
I mean, when I look at the amount of goals I made for all the players I played with, I made them stacks of goals and still got the same satisfaction out of it. And when I look at the football club, Clough made a profit on me. They went on to be successful. Derby County were near the bottom, bought me for £50,000, and I think they sold me. Well, they didn't. I don't think. I know they sold me for £70,000 because I know what the cut for from that fee was. Southampton sold me for £100,000. They just got promotion, so we'd finished. We were comfortable in the league. Got to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. We're beating Arsenal 1-0. Terry Curran tipped the ball onto the crossbar. The ball has run right across. How it's dropped this side of the goal post and not behind the goal, I'll never know. David Price for Arsenal, bangs it in. Equalise. We go to Highbury, get beat hammered up at Highbury 5-1 in replay. They go and beat Man United in the final. If we get there, maybe, I wouldn't have gone because I said to Jack, I'm not leaving it, but then we would have been in the semi-final. So I may not have, I wouldn't have joined Sheffield Wednesday then because I would have wanted to play in the semi-final. I don't know Arsenal beat in the semi-final, but they went on to beat Man United. I think Man United beat Derby County.
Yes.
I think Man United beat Derby County in their semi-final, but I forget who Arsenal beat. And they went on to win it. So I may not have joined. And then I was at Sheffield Wednesday for 3 years.
Yeah.
How we didn't go up the following season, I do not know. They got themselves £100,000 for me. I go and join Sheffield United. Reg really bought me there, whereas Porterfield didn't want me, even though I played at Porterfield. He wanted his own players in. and I finished up going to Everton. So I never cost a football club 1 penny. They all got a profit and all got some form of success out of it. This is what makes me laugh. I mean, no respect to Laurie McMenemy, because at the end of the day, he was great with the other players. He weren't great with me. Later on, he was a lot more, he apologised in one sense that how he treated me as a young kid. But every one of them had some form of success. Every team I went to had some form of success and went on to win things. So I never cost a club 1 penny, and consistent. I was consistent as anybody, because I never played in a team what really struggled. You can say about in Huddersfield Town. But when I signed for towards the end of my career, I was playing for them with a bad knee injury. We finished up being comfortable. It was only for 1 season, when I knew that was going to be 1 season, because that's what he said to me, Mick Buxton. If you sign for us for this season, help us to stay into second division. I think they'd only just got promoted that season or the following season. They wanted to establish themselves in the second division. So it never cost a football club 1 penny. They all made a profit out of it. We all had some form of success.
Absolutely, yes. Clearly that's the case. I mean, whilst at Sheffield Wednesday as well, just coming off of football a little bit, you recorded a song called "Singing the Blues." So how did this come about, Terry? What was it?
It came about through a guy called Alan Wood, who used to be in the Jimmy James and the Vagabonds. Can you remember Jimmy James and the Vagabonds?
I can't actually, no, to be honest. No, I can't remember him.
He was a bass player.
Right.
Big Sheffield Wednesday fan.
Interesting.
And what they wanted me to do was to sing "The Wednesday When United Lose." But don't forget, in my day, there was all that trouble fighting.
Oh yes, was there?
So, and I said, I'll do the song, but I'm not going to put in "The Wednesday When United Lose." But the fans always sang that. So that's how it came about, through a guy called Alan Wood, who was in Jimmy James and the Vagabonds, but he was a big Sheffield Wednesday fan.
Oh, brilliant. That's a great story, isn't it? That's a nice story.
I bet you a better story about that. I think it sold about 3,000 copies.
Yes.
I didn't get a penny out of it. They made a few quid out of it, as usual.
No, that's often the case, yeah.
But listen to this. This is how corrupt everything is in life. Back then, the records in charts, this is how they did it. So there were places in Leicester where the charts took the sales from: Manchester, Newcastle, London, right? And Alan said to me, "Look, we will send busloads down. We'll get you on top of the pop. We'll send busloads down to buy this record." And I said, "No, I didn't do it." So we sold 3,000 copies, but that was through the Sheffield Wednesday fans. Because they would have made a right few quid out. But that's how they used to do it.
Of course they did.
They send fans in to buy records.
Yes.
They send busloads in to buy records. So it would have been Leicester, Manchester, Newcastle, London, other areas. And then that's how they got the sales would come from certain record shops. It just shows you, doesn't it?
It does show you, absolutely. And getting back to football, I mean, this is an interesting point. And an unusual story too. You were involved in an incident in a match at Oldham Athletic in September 1980, when you were sent off after a fracas with Simon Stainrod. I do remember Simon. This fracas caused Sheffield Wednesday fans to riot and led to the closure of Hillsborough Terraces for the next 4 home games. So you're more than just a football maverick, Terry. What a story this must be. I mean, please enlighten us more. How did that kick off?
Well, it was funny. I mean, I think Simon had chased back. I said the ball had come off Simon.
Yes.
Simon has got the ball and he's trying to throw it. I'm trying to pull it. Simon throws a punch and hits me in the chest. I fetch my knee up to knee in between the legs. And Simon's a showman. I get on well with Simon. And I understand football fans, football players. People are going to foul people. They're not going to let you score goals and all this type of thing. If they can get you sent off, they're going to get you sent off.
Of course, yes.
And by the way, that our manager was saying, trying to get other players sent off. They would tell Mick Pickering to rattle Simon Stainrod. And then once Mick had fouled him, they would turn around and say, "Mark Smith, Then you go and rattle him. Simon might retaliate. And then they get Mel Sterling to foul him. And then Simon might get sent off and Mel might get booked. So I put my knee up. Simon went down like a sack of potatoes. Right? I've been sent off 5 times in my life. George Courtney sent me off 4 of those 5. Right? He's the referee. Pulls his card out. Pulls his card out. Simon jumps up. And all of a sudden, right, the concrete stands back then. Right, there weren't all-seater stadiums. I think Coventry was the first one round about that time with an all-seater stadium. But there'd be holes in the concrete. They were giving the hands under, pulling parts of it up, and some of them were unbelievable sized boulders, and they were throwing them onto. And then all the fans came onto the pitch. Jack's trying to climb them all down. Jack is crying. They take us off at pitch, right? And it finished up. The game got abandoned. That at 6 o'clock news, ITV. And BBC and the 10 o'clock news. The first person who wants to interview me when I come out of that tribunal in London, in Seoul, is a guy called David Icke.
Remember David?
He was a goalkeeper for Coventry. And then he was a reporter, football reporter for BBC Two. And Jack, because I was going to speak to David about the incident, because in the incident in the tribunal, Jack's kicking me because Jack said to me, when we go down there, don't you open your mouth. Do not open your mouth, right? We might get away with this. Right? Bert Milicic was the main man. It was a panel of 12 people. And he goes in there and I'm listening to them. You know, they're telling me I've said this and I've done that and I've done other. And I'm saying, whoa, hang on a bit. I haven't said that. I haven't done that. And Jack's kicking me under the table. Right? So when they finished, I said, right, we give you a 4-match suspension. I went ballistic. I'm going to tell the papers on you. I'm going to report all this, what's been said in here, a load of lies. Jack's dragging me out of the tribunal. Then Jack goes back in and then he comes back out and he says to me, they were going to give you an 8-game ban. We're going to take you back in. You shut your mouth, right? And when we get back in there, we take the punishment. But then Jack blamed me because he said if I would have opened my mouth, I wouldn't have got the 4-game ban. But who knows? It was a 4-game ban, and the Cop and Leppings Lane End, the standing areas, was closed, so you could only pay. You could only go and sit down. So. In other words, they got the double of the fee because it's more to sit down. And I remember Bert McGee saying to me, you've cost this club so-and-so, so-and-so. And I said to him, I ain't cost you a penny. I said, you've made money. I said, you gained 24,000 fans here, right? He said, gained 24,000 fans having to pay to stand. You gained 24,000 fans sat down and you're doubling your money.
Yeah.
So the fans got banned away from home, but they all still went away from home. But it weren't a funny. I mean, the tribunal was funny, but it weren't a funny at the time. And I mean,
it wouldn't have been.
Funny at the time.
It wouldn't have been funny at the time, would it?
But going back to that thing with Clough for the transfer,
yes,
right? Tommy Dockett said to me, "You're going to have to ask for a transfer." So I've gone in, and there used to be another room at the bottom where they would take players in there. They were signing players, or if they had meetings and. Remember, Pete, it used to be Sporting Chronicle. It'd be Sporting Life and Sporting Chronicle. And right. Pete's reading the Sporting Chronicle because Pete was a big gambler. So I knocked on the door. He comes in and I said to him, I said, when's the gaffer going to be in? Is the gaffer in today? He said, no, it won't be in until tomorrow. He said, can I do anything for you? And I said, no, I don't want to speak to organ grinder. I want to speak to manager. And I walked out, but I'm fuming because the gaffer, well, he hardly came into training. And when he did, he never took any training. He'd come down, do his usual shouting for about 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then he would bugger off with his dog. So I'm going out, and then I'm fuming, and I'm thinking, I need to get this transfer request in because I need to get to Derby. I wanted to get start playing first division football. And Derby County were in first division. So I finished going back in, right? And I got 2 letters in my pocket. Now, this is used a lot on the circuits, the after dinner circuits. But this started with me. I got these 2 letters, a transfer letter and my gas bill, electric bill. So I goes back in, I pulls it out and I slams it on the desk. And I said to Pete, give that to the fucking manager. So he says, what is it? I said, it's a transfer request. So I goes out. He obviously opened it up, seen it, and then he's coming running after me. And he shouted at me, Terry, what do you want me to do with this? I said, I've told you, give it to the manager. I gets to the car. He's banging on the window. He said, Terry, what do you want me to do with this? I said, so why is the window down? And I said, I want you to give the manager. He says, it's electric bill. I said, well, give it to him and tell him to fucking pay it. And by the way, Cloughy paid it.
Oh, that's a brilliant
true
story.
that.
Yeah, it's a brilliant little story, isn't it? Yeah, Cloughy loved you, didn't he? Let's be honest. He liked Terry Curran. There's no doubt about that.
Well, when I first joined them, and I was telling you about, it was so difficult for me to settle in, and the lads did make it hard at the time. Not in a sense, they weren't horrible, but they kept themselves to themselves, and I just felt out of it.
Yes.
And I remember somebody writing about I had a little old no, I didn't. That Spitfire were 2 years old, and I used to travel backwards and forwards at weekend to go back home because I didn't know anybody in Nottingham, you know. And then one day, Cloughy come in and he said to me, he said, this is how much Cloughy loved me. He said to me, young man, give me your car keys. So I gave him my car keys. I thought, what's he want them for? And I go straight, he comes back, goes out the car park. I'm thinking, oh, I ain't got my keys. So I goes to the manager's office and I knocks on the door. I goes in. He said, come in, young man. I goes in. Have you got my keys, boss? And he gave me, but I never thought nothing about him. I just put him in my pocket. And I goes outside. I couldn't find my car. And I'm thinking, where's my car? So I goes back in and he's laughing. You know, he's banging his squash back in the side of his leg and he's laughing. I said, I think someone stole my car. He said, they haven't. So he came out. He came out with me. He said, that's your car there. He said, you do more miles than James Hunt. Right? When you up down that motorway, I want you to be safe. And they bought me a Capri. So that's how much he thought of me, Russell. Yes. Absolutely. If you got the old write-ups from the games at Forest, I'm the only player, right? At my 21st birthday at playing at York, all the directors had chipped in and bought me a suitcase. He made them buy me. He bought me a suitcase, a pig skin suitcase, absolutely beautiful. You know, I never saw that in football in all my career in football. That's how much Clough loved me. And if that's the only thing I wish, I don't regret it. I just wish I wouldn't have got injured. I wish what would have happened to me and how big my name would have gone in football.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
That's what I do wish.
Yeah, of course. But of course, you did leave Sheffield Wednesday and moved across the city to Sheffield United for a brief spell before moving to Everton for 3 years. This is a great story, of course, having spent some time on loan at Everton for one season, during which you made 24 appearances. Terry, you're at Everton when they won the First Division Championship in 1984-85 season, and a great Everton side that was too, I have to say, to which you contributed 9 appearances. So what was it like to finally win a First Division Championship medal? Now the Premier League, of course.
Frustrating because I never felt as though I'd won the championship. I pulled a muscle in my leg and I was out for 5 months. And the rush. When I joined them on loan. They were second or third bottom. And my first game was against Birmingham, 11,000 people there, 11,500 people.
Yes. We
drew 0-0. We beat Ipswich. I remember coming off at half time and Kevin Ratcliffe saying to the lads when we get into the dressing room, give him the ball, he's ripping these apart. We beat Ipswich. We drew with West Brom. We beat Luton 5. I think I made 3 goals that day. I scored 1. We get beat at Tottenham. Then we beat Forest 3-1 at home. I meet Howard. I meet Howard on Birch Services. Right, I was going to sign for him, but we couldn't agree on the wages. What had happened was, he said to me, I'll offer you £10,000 and £500 a week. I said, Howard, I've just saved you from getting sacked. I'd gone to his house, and on his garage, it were like F off Kendall, Little Langman. They were chanting for Howard to be out. Right. So he said to me, well, what are you looking for? And I said to him, I want £1,000 a week, and I want £25,000 because there were £25,000 in my contract. I got £50,000 from Sheffield United, 25 in my hand, which they pay the tax on, because I always make sure they pay the tax on it, and 25 in my contract. He said, we can't pay that. We don't pay that. And I finished up. I said, well, there was a guy with me called Jerry Webster. He wasn't an agent, but he was, there were agents started to come into it round about that time, round about 85, 83, 84, something like that. So I said, I'm going home. And I said, hang on a bit. And Jerry said to me, I said, no, I'm going home. So I finished going back. They hit another bad patch. I had played for Sheffield United in the FA Cup against Stoke City. And I had one of those games, Russell, when everything, we were third division, Stoke were in Championship.
Yes.
League One, not Championship, League One. Not League One, old First Division. So there's Arsenal there, gone out, Ron Atkinson, Man United, and I would say the same night. We drew at our place, and then we got beat. Or did we draw at their place? We got beat. But I'd had this game, and I ripped Stoke apart. Arsenal had come in and made a bid. Man United. I don't know if you remember a guy called Norman Wynn who used to write for Sunday People.
No, I don't remember him either, actually.
Well, Norman used to write for Sunday People. Norman phones me up. He said, look, would you want to play for Man United? So if they want to sign me, yeah, I would. But Arsenal had made a bid, and Man United made a bid. So Reg and Porterfield would have sold me. Reg, he was the one what signed me, and they were trying to get as much out of the deal as possible. So we were playing one off against the other, Man United and Arsenal and Everton. So I spoke to Norman, and Norman said, look, Ron said if this deal's not done by this certain Saturday, he's going to sign Arthur Graham. So I'd gone in to ask to see Reg. I said, look, I want to leave. I want to join Man United. And Reg said, you'll only join Man United if they come up with a fee what I want. Anyway, they made another bid, turned it down, so they finished up signing Arthur Graham. Arsenal finished up signing whoever they signed at that time. And then I finished up going back to Everton. And they give me, whatever I asked for, they gave me the second time round.
Yes.
And then my first game back for them, Russell, I get injured. I am now out for 5 months. He rushes me back to play in the semi-final of the FA Cup. I play in the semi-final of the FA Cup against Southampton. He's going to bring me off because it's going into extra time. Don't forget, I haven't played for 5 months only. I've only played a couple of first-team games and rearranged games, youth team games and reserve games to get games under my belt. And he changed his mind and he kept me on. And then I played 3 more games after that. And I think either Luton or Norwich where I pulled an hamstring. I've never pulled an hamstring in my life. I pulled my hamstring, and that's how I finished up, missing out. And they went on to win the FA Cup. They went on to win everything. So that's how unlucky I was.
Yeah, it's a lot of bad luck. It
by
really
the way,
is.
they were a great team. They had some great players. Trevor Stevens, Gabby Stevens, Neville Southall, Derek Mountfield.
Well, they won back-to-back championships as well, didn't
Pat
they?
Vandenau. I mean, in one sense, I feel sorry for the lads because that team, I'm not saying it would have won, but who knows? they may have won a European Cup. And because of the Liverpool ISIL disaster, English clubs were banned for 3 seasons or something like that. So they missed out. But, I mean, they won, I think, well, they got to 2 League Cup finals. They won an FA Cup. They won the Cup Winners' Cup. And they won the league title.
Yes.
So they had a great run. They had a great run. So when you look at my career, to miss out through injury, because that's all it was.
Yes. It's just bad
Nothing
luck,
else.
isn't it?
Regardless what people think, I weren't dropped. I got injured, and the team was winning. I mean, he was selling Trevor Stevens to Sunderland. They bought him for £300,000 from Burnley, and Trevor was a great player. Different type of player from me, but I mean, what did he play? 40 games for England. So fantastic football club, fantastic football team. But no,
absolutely
disappointed and probably frustrated to miss out on 2 great achievements through injuries, really.
Absolutely. And moving away from football as well into your other skill in life, you did write your autobiography, Regrets of a Football Maverick, which is what the show is called, of course, in October 2012, which is a great book, I'm sure. And of course, you also wrote another interesting book as well, Terry. Give Me the Ball, My Take on a Beautiful Game, which was published in September 2021. This fabulous book portrays you as the Owl's idol, which you were and still are, of course, and shoots from the hip as the book explores the good, bad, and ugly sides of the beautiful game. You introduce and discuss the greats, including George Best, Alan Ball, Brian Clough, obviously, who, of course, inspired your own exciting and unpredictable career, whilst also revealing your explosive but close relationship with Jack Charlton. I mean, that's some book, isn't it, Terry, really? I mean, are there any great stories in there you could excite us about?
Sure. When you look at the managers what signed me,
I know.
Tommy Docherty.
Exactly.
You know, and everybody thought they got rid of it. No, they didn't. Not one of them wanted to sell me.
No.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Right? I never fell out with managers.
No.
It was to do with gambling and what have you.
Yes.
And if I'd lost my money, then I would ask for a move, and I would make sure I would get a move, and that's how it came about. But I used to get tapped up a lot by managers. But Jack, I mean, Jack did not like you taking the piss in training, taking the mickey, nutmegging people and doing things. Anyway, Andy McCulloch was Jack's favourite, not in the sense that thing. Andy were always like you, got a smile on his face, brilliantly, absolutely. Lads loved him, absolutely fantastic guy. So I used to say to Andy, "What are you going to do today?" I said, "If I get the chance, I'm going to go around the goalkeeper. I'm going to stop the ball on the line and get on my hands and knees, and I'm going to head it into net." And he says, "You dead?" But I knew what Andy was doing.
Yes.
Right, because it was making me then force myself to do it. Because Jack hated anything like that, and he would go ballistic. Anyway, we play one of my old clubs, Derby County. I get the ball, I beat somebody, stops the ball on the line, gets on my hands and knees, heads it into net. I could see Jack running down as I'm looking across, because I'm trying to get up. I'm going to run towards the cop. Yes. I could see Jack running down the touchline. "I'll fucking kill you, you little twat. What have I told you about that?" But somebody must have been offside, right? I guess in the dressing room after the game, and he's gone ballistic with me. "I will stop you doing any of this, so and so and so and so." But I said to Andy, when we used to score goals, I'd always do something to wind Jack up. Anyway, we were playing Rotherham, and we're beating them 5-1. And the previous Saturday, we'd played Chesterfield, and I think we were winning 3-1 or 3-2, whatever it was. And they equalised it last couple of minutes. I think Jeff King had gave the ball away. So all week we are practicing running the ball in. You see, people roll around today. All that is to kill time.
Yes.
In my day, you would run it into corner, get the ball into corner. So I said to Andy, he said, "What are you going to do today?" I said, "I'm going to run the ball into Leopard's Lane end." Right? Because kickoff, we were kicking down towards the cop. So the second half, we're up running towards the Leppings Lane end goals. So I says to him, I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to run from halfway line into corner at Leppings Lane end towards the goal. I'm going to come back out. I'm going to take it back to our, and Andy McCulloch says, you daren't do that, T. I said, watch me. We're beating Rotherham 5-1. Right? This is no lie. This half of the fans are booing me, half of the fans are cheering. I guess the ball. I runs right into the corner flag at Leppings Lane end. Stopped, turned out, and ran back towards our cop end and passed the ball to Bob Boulder. And Jack's chasing me down line. I remember getting to the dressing room at half time, and for 10 minutes he's gone ballistic. Lads are going ballistic with me and all, because they knew what Jack were like. But after we went mad, they always used to go into Travellers, and Jack says, I'm in the shower. Jack come into the shower. He said, TC, are we going in? Are we going for a pint of Guinness? He always liked a pint of Guinness to Jack. Are we going to Travellers for a pint of Guinness? I said, no, I'm going up to Josephine's. I said, I'm sick of you getting to me when we've won 5-1. He said, I'm sick of you, so. But one of the best ones was in training. Sometimes Jack was a better player than what people give him credit for. Technically, you know, he was a good player, was Jack.
Oh, he was.
And he would join in, so we'd have a practice match. So I says to Andy, if anybody plays me the right ball, I'm going to nutmeg him. And Andy's laughing. Brian Hornsby's played me this perfect ball, and as he's played me this perfect ball, I could see Jack coming, and Jack comes diving in. Back in my day, you know what Leeds United were like.
Oh, absolutely.
Jack, and they didn't bother about whether we're doing players or not, whether we're training or not. It come 2 feet, and as he's come, I put the ball through his legs. Right, you can see him. He jumps up, and you see he's fuming. And I turns around, and I can see him. And it's like a red rag to a ball. It's coming back towards me. So I turn back towards him and puts it back through his legs again. Now he's chasing me all over the football pitch, but I kept slowing down and letting him get close to me to try and kick me. But again, we had some great times. It weren't like we were falling out and we were never speaking, ever. You know, he threw a punch at me one day because I refused to play.
I can imagine.
He said to me, you're going to play on wing. I said, I'm not playing on wing. I'm playing through middle. We're playing Norwich. I said, play God knowing. I mean, his mate, because he was younger than us, no, but his mates used to call him Muppet. I said, play Muppet, you know. I said, but I'm not playing. I'm not playing up wing. I had to play through middle, and I'm not playing. Anyway, I finished up not playing, but he threw a punch. He took his coat off. He threw a punch, and I got. As he's thrown the punch, I've grabbed him back waist and I've lifted him. He's gone backwards. So all lads jumped in to stop us fighting, me and Jack. And Mel Sterling was only a young lad. He's at back. I could see through the lad's legs. I could see Mel laughing his head off, and Mel shouting, "Leave him, let him fight." You know. But I mean, I didn't play that night. They went to Norwich, beat Norwich 3-1. I didn't play for the next couple of games, but he fetched me straight back in. I had never, ever, where I've never spoke to a manager ever. Where some players have gone months without speaking to managers. Yeah. I never had any of that ever.
No. Some interesting times, and of course, looking at the clock, we're well over an hour, which is great because it's a great conversation, some great stories. I mean, you also run a fantastic podcast. Football podcast show too, called The Curran View, don't you, Terry? I mean, how does that work? What's the content and the episodes around? It's obviously football. It's a great show, isn't it?
Well, what we do, I mean, I do it with Paul Collins, Gabby
That's
Tabby,
it, Paul Collins,
and
yes.
Chris
Paul
Brown.
You
know, and we just talk about football. We have a book corner. We talk about magic moments in game. And how we see the game.
Yes.
You know, it's not, look, I mean, Gabby gets carried away sometimes. And I said, Gabby, look, they're entitled to their opinion. You know, I always like something. I used to like women's football. I've got disillusioned with women's football because of the woke side of it. Nothing else.
Yeah, it's bad now.
I mean, I still speak to Simon Steinrod. You know, we still speak over at forward. He lives in France. And Simon used to say to me, are you serious about women's football? Technically, they're very, very good.
Well, they are.
Very good technically. But I stopped watching it because of the woke what's happening
Yeah,
in the world, and the quicker we can get back, instead of us all falling out, having
absolutely.
disagreements. I get all that, right? But going back to normality and forget the new, going back to normality, people getting on and having a laugh and enjoying themselves. Life's short. But how it came about, I had no intentions of doing a podcast, and it's finished up. I think we've done about 200 now.
Yeah, you've done a lot.
But I've just
great.
missed a month because I had an AF. I had a problem with my heart.
Oh, I hope
I was
that's not
finished up going. I
too
was problem
serious,
breathing,
Terry.
and I was in hospital for 6 days.
Oh dear.
I've got irregular heartbeat at the moment in time. I've got fluid on my lungs and high blood pressure. But I'm starting to feel a bit better now, Russ.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing it. And I think it does well in Far East, to be honest.
Well, you're looking well, Terry. Just be honest, you're looking well. You've got a lot about you. It's great. Some of your stories here today are just amazing. They're incredible. The trouble is, I've had to cut quite a bit out of this show because you've got so much to talk about. Brilliant, brilliant life in football.
I mean, when I look at us and how we've not won in the World Cup when we've had the players we've had, and I tell you this, people make me laugh when they talk about Charlie George is the best striker this country's ever had. You can have Ali Shearer, you can have them all. Technically, he got everything. You go and put clips on YouTube about Charlie George. Put clips on when Charlie George destroyed Real Madrid at the baseball ground. And Don Revie, who put a team together like Leeds United, was as good as any football team you'll ever see in your life. And they were that good in that period of time. I mean, it probably did cost them by going for too many things because they should have won more things. How he would not pick people like Charlie George on a regular basis or played him on the wing and played him for 67 minutes. That guy had got everything. Header, pace, left foot, right foot, strength, character.
Absolutely.
Right.
There's a whole list of players, isn't there, which includes yourself.
Tony Curran, Frank Worthington.
You should have played for England.
And I remember a guy who used to report for the Sheffield United, Tony Pritchard, and he said to me, "Well, what midfield would I play?" I said I would play Hudson and Curry together, and Ball as the holding midfield player.
I was going to say Alan Hudson.
He'd play the 1 and 2 touch and set it all up, and let them two dictate. Let them two dictate and take the chances, because not only could they see the pass, they could play the pass.
They could.
So he said to me, "Who was going to get the ball back?" I said, "Listen, Tony, it's not about getting the ball back. They won't lose it."
Yeah.
And when you see what's happened to football now, right? I mean, people can say, "Well, has Guardiola destroyed the game?" No, Guardiola destroyed the game. Defensive coaching destroyed the game because they're frightened to play against the Manchester Cities.
Yes.
Right? I get it. You don't want to get beat 5-0 and what have you. But get defenders in what can defend.
Yes, exactly right.
Simple.
That sounds like a Brian Clough statement there. I've got to say, if you're talking well, you're talking like Brian Clough would have spoken, I think, to be honest with you.
I taught him all he knew.
Yeah. Oh, it's good to see that one again, that nice little takeoff there. It's brilliant. When I spoke to Alan Hudson, because he should have played more for England, and Peter Osgood, those great players.
I'll never forget that game.
And they didn't play because Don Revie didn't like Chelsea Football Club.
I know. I'll never forget that game when they beat West Germany.
Oh, yes.
Oxford and Ball destroyed West Germany.
1973, wasn't it?
And I don't think, or he might have played another game.
And what German player was it Netzer or somebody said, "Look, who's this guy? Who's this Alan Hudson? Why aren't England building a team around him?" He said, "Because in Germany, if we had Alan Hudson, we'd have built our team around that player." And that's really what it is.
Glenn Hoddle, what was spoke about, if he'd been a continental player, we've had him. Matt Letizia.
Yes, another great player.
It's unbelievable.
The list goes on. This country should have won trophies, and we haven't.
We've never had a manager.
Nope.
We've never had an elite manager what's managed our national team.
Imagine
since Alf Ramsey. I think that's 1970 team when they were 2-0 up against West Germany.
That's
That
a
was
better
as good
England
as
side.
that was as good a team as what we've had. That
I think the 1970s England side out in Mexico was better than the 66 side, actually.
yeah,
They were.
bit of luck. I think they could have won that.
That was a fantastic side, that 1970 side. And of course, let's go back to your great manager, Brian Clough. What would he have done if he was manager of England? If the FA had said, come on, Brian, come and manage England. They never would because of the controversy. But we would have won trophies under Brian Clough, wouldn't we?
Well, we can't say that because you know as well as I do. But what he would have done, right, would have played football on the grass, not in the clouds.
Exactly.
Right? Because like he said, God didn't put grass on the clouds to play football. He put it on the ground.
Correct.
He'd have played with the tempo. He would have played players what would balance the team up. Right? And I would have liked to have said he would have won us a European Championship and a World Cup.
I think so.
Now, what I'm saying is, I would have thought he would have gone on to do that, but we never know until it would have happened.
Exactly. It's all hindsight.
I'm going to leave you with a food for thought.
Exactly. Quite right.
I'm going to leave you with a food for thought here.
Go on then.
And you've heard it first here.
Go on, Terry. Enlighten me.
I've been told from a good source that Guardiola will be next England manager. Now, if that happens, we will win a World Cup.
Wow.
Because we have the players today, right? It's all about giving the right balance to the team.
We have got the players.
Let's see if that happens.
We have got the players. That was an interesting statement. I've not heard that at all. But
the more you look at this, what's going to happen to Manchester City?
Oh, they're in dire trouble, aren't they? There's 123
right. Well, we don't know
charges.
Yet, because you know as well as I do. I mean, a lot of all this is about breaking the league up. They don't. Luton fans and Burnley fans, please don't take this the wrong way. The Premier League don't want Luton and Burnley in the Premier League.
No, that's a fact, I think.
They want an elite league, right? With the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas.
Correct.
So they're going to break up at some point.
Yes, I agree with that.
Right?
I think the Premier League will break up.
If it doesn't break up, Manchester City get relegated. I've been told that Guardiola does not want to manage Spain. He's a Catalan, isn't he?
He is a Catalan.
He does not like Spain or some Spanish. But this is from a very, very good source, and I'm not going to say who the source is from.
Yeah, it's an interesting take.
Because it's not fair. But he's very, very close. I'll guarantee you, very close.
Well, we all know what's going to happen.
He said to me, we're worried that he could be the next England manager.
Well, after this coming European Championship this year, June, July, of course, this year, we will have a change in manager, regardless. It will happen.
Yeah, so, it will. It will.
Regardless if we win or lose, we will have a change in manager. So that's an interesting take, and that's the end of this season. Guardiola, well, I'd smile at that one, Terry. I'd definitely smile at that one.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see what I'd like to see. Listen, I would like to see an English manager play like Guardiola's teams play.
Yes, but we haven't got that.
No, we haven't.
So,
right? But that's down to them. That's down to them to be braver.
It is. But that's where we are with football here in Britain or England. That's what we've got. And I have to say, we've done almost an hour and a half, Terry. It's wonderful conversation. It really is.
When you're enjoying yourself, time flies.
Oh, it certainly does. I can see you've enjoyed yourself. You've enjoyed the talk. But
fantastic.
As I always say at this moment, as always on the World of Lord Russell podcast talk show, we could talk forever, Terry, and I know we could. We could talk for hours here because there's so many stories you've got.
There's only a few stories I've just told you.
Absolutely.
There's that many.
There's so many.
Don't feel like I said, I play for all the elite managers.
You have indeed. So we could talk for a long time about your life as a top professional football player and, of course, your continued interest in football, particularly airing your views about the game on your podcast show, The Curran View. So thank you, Terry, for coming onto the show and talking about your professional life in football. It's been a huge pleasure, as always. And as always, the pleasure is all mine. And of course, the show's audience, when this podcast is released on the World of Lord Russell podcast talk show and my YouTube channel. So thank you, Terry. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm clapping here. I give you Terry Curran. Fantastic.
Thank you,
Well
Russell,
done.
and it's
Thank
been
you,
a pleasure.
Terry. Could you
Anytime.
hang on for 2 minutes after this? I'll just wrap up. That's okay.
Yep.
Good stuff. The next episode on the World of Lord Russell podcast talk show is Earning My Spurs, where my special guest will be Terry Fenwick, the former professional football player and manager he was, who played either a centre-back or a full-back. And during his playing career, Terry made a total, I think, of 455 appearances in the English Football League for Crystal Palace, Queen's Park Rangers, Tottenham Hotspur, Leicester City and Swindon Town. Terry also made 20 appearances for the England national football team from 1984 to 1988 and represented...
World Cup.
He did. He represented England at the 1986
Fantastic player.
FIFA
Fantastic
World
player.
Cup in Mexico. Terry Fenwick began his managerial career in the mid-1990s with Portsmouth Football Club from 1995 to 1998. Terry later had executive and managerial stints at Southall, Ashford Town and Northampton Town. Since the early 2000s, Terry Fenwick is primarily managing Trinidad and Tobago, where he has overseen San Juan Jabalacta on 3 occasions, Central and the Trinidad and Tobago national team. And of course, I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the inside. So until then, it's au revoir from him and au revoir from me.